Have you ever had a bad day and decided to go shopping to try to make yourself feel better? Did it work? Did it make you feel better? How long did you feel better for? And did you need to go shopping again soon after to get that better feeling back? That's retail therapy. And it doesn't work for us, and it doesn't work for the planet. Yet many of us who are lucky enough to be able to afford to do it will do it regularly to try and boost our mood. I know about retail therapy because I used to do it myself. I had a lot of self-doubt and insecurity. I worked really hard, pushing myself for really long hours, because that was a way of avoiding feeling those difficult feelings. And I thought I had to work that long to do well enough. I neglected my health and fitness so much, I had osteoporosis before I was 40. And every month or so, I'd get myself some DVDs and books just to put myself up a little reward to keep me going. How many exercise DVDs do you think one person needs? Not 31, that's for sure. But that's how many I bought over the years. I was in denial that I was doing retail therapy. I didn't like clothes shopping. But actually, for many people, retail therapy isn't about all shopping. So for me, it was DVDs and books. For other people, it can be trainers, it can be exercise equipment, it can be technology, a favourite brand, or even buying presents for other people. If I'd stopped to think what I was doing, I would have realised that I was doing retail therapy so much sooner. A question that can really help us understand the motivation behind any action is, what is it that I want from doing that? So imagine I'm in this shop, I'm considering buying, say, my 10th exercise DVD. What is it I want from buying that DVD? To be fitter and healthier. Using the question again to get deeper into the motivation, what is it I want from being fitter and healthier? Now, this is where I've got to be prepared to be honest with myself. Because if I say something like, to live to a healthy old age, it sounds plausible. But I wouldn't have been working 14-hour days. And I'd have been doing the exercise DVDs I'd already bought. And I wasn't. What I really wanted from being fitter and healthier was to feel better about myself, to feel more confident, and to feel less self-doubt and insecurity. I was doing retail therapy. The reason I'm talking about retail therapy is its impact on the planet. When I was doing my retail therapy, I didn't know that for every DVD, the weight of the gases, the greenhouse gases that are released in the manufacture and distribution of that DVD, it's more than 5 times the weight of that DVD and its case. When I was buying DVD after DVD, I didn't think how the case of most of them is plastic. If that plastic ends up in landfill or in our oceans, as so much plastic does, it breaks down into tiny fragments called microplastics. And these microplastics can get into our food and our water. If I was to ask you, what percentage of the people in this room do you think have microplastics in their blood? What would you think? 1%, 10%, 20%? What if I tell you it's 80%? This paper, published last month, found microplastics in the blood of 80% of the people they tested. While the evidence isn't yet conclusive about the harmful impact of having these microplastics in our bodies, that evidence is growing. So retail therapy doesn't work for the planet. I didn't realise when I was doing it the impact I was having. Retail therapy doesn't work for us either. So you might think, oh, well, actually, it works for me. I enjoy a bit of retail therapy. Why does it seem like it works? Imagine I've had a bad day, I'm thinking about it, and I'm not liking the way I'm feeling. So I decide, right, I'm going to get myself a DVD. Bit of retail therapy. You may well have heard of dopamine. It's a chemical that's released when we take action towards something we see as a reward. For me, that DVD is a reward. So now my dopamine is flowing. I'm feeling better than I was because dopamine feels good. Have you ever bought more than you expected in a sale? We're constantly comparing what's happening with what we expect. And so a bargain where there's a bigger positive gap between what we expected and what the price actually is, that gets our dopamine flowing more. The same dopamine effect applies in online shopping. If you think of a time when you booked a holiday in advance and how you felt in the run-up to that holiday, it's like that. The extended period of anticipation while we're waiting for that package to arrive at the door, that's triggering our dopamine to flow for longer. Why then am I saying that retail therapy doesn't work? Because dopamine's purpose is to reward action that's taking us towards that goal that we're seeking, it stops when we get it. So if you've ever worked really hard for something substantial and you achieve it, you might have found yourself soon after feeling a little bit flat, wondering what's coming next. That's partly the dopamine stopping. And so for me, now, I've bought the DVD and my dopamine stops. And I'll find myself, in all likelihood, right back at the feeling I was trying to distract myself from. And after that, I'm going to want to go shopping again. I didn't realise, but I could have bought every DVD in the shop, and still my self-doubt and insecurity would have been back soon afterwards. Retail therapy only ever gives us a short-term mood boost. And what are the longer-term consequences of retail therapy? Multiple studies suggest they're negative. Once we have enough, having more doesn't make us happier. Studies that have tracked people over time find more materialistic people buy more and consume more. They tend to have lower satisfaction in life later on in life, particularly in the areas of their family, their relationships, and their jobs. Less materialistic people consume less and buy less. And they report greater levels of well-being and lower levels of psychological distress. These studies are from tracking people over time, so they don't prove that buying less will make an individual happier. But they do suggest there is a connection between what we buy and consume and our well-being. So, if we're not going to do retail therapy, what do we do those times when we're not feeling the way that we want to? I want to suggest two options to you. The first option is just to choose other sustainable, healthy activities that get you thinking and feeling differently and give you a bit of a mood boost. There's a small park just 2 minutes walk from where I live. It's got a lovely view out over the city, and I love to just walk a loop round it, looking at the view and the plants and the animals. Each of us will have our own activities that give us a boost. It can be things like exercise, reading a chapter of a book that you really enjoy, playing a musical instrument, having a bath. It's not things that you think you should do, it's things that you enjoy doing. Having some ideas written down in advance can be really helpful, because once we're in that lower mood, it can be harder to think of the options. So just take a moment and think, what could some of those activities be for you? The other option that I'm going to suggest might sound counterintuitive at first, but it really works, and it's the one that I most recommend. It is to feel our existing emotions. Drop any story or thinking that we have about them, and then they will pass. There's lots of research that shows when we try to suppress our feelings or distract ourselves from them, it doesn't work. Not only will those feelings come back later, they'll often come back stronger. When I was trying to distract myself from my insecurity and self-doubt through retail therapy, I didn't spot I was only ever getting a short-term mood boost, but it was only ever short-term. And I didn't see that retail therapy was keeping me stuck in a pattern of not exercising. I'd have been far better doing the exercise DVDs I already had than using that precious free time to go and buy more. It was such a relief when I saw how thought operates and how it was creating all this noise in my head of unhelpful thinking and all these feelings in my body. And I found that those unhelpful thoughts, I don't have to believe them, and I don't have to pay attention to them. And my feelings, if I dare to feel them, I won't fall into a bottomless pit and never be able to get back out of them. They can just flow through me. Feel the feelings and drop the story. I love this quote from Sydney Banks. If the only thing people learned was not to be afraid of their experience, that alone would change the world. When I stopped being afraid of my experience, I found I can just let those feelings flow through me. And now the self-doubt and the insecurity, it still comes round, but not as often, because I'm not paying attention to the thoughts like I'm not good enough that drive that kind of feeling. And I don't have the urge to do retail therapy now. It doesn't make sense anymore to me, because I don't need to change how I'm feeling, whether it's good or bad. So if, like I was, feeling that kind of insecurity and having that I'm not good enough thought, if you have that as well, I want to reassure you, lots of people do. And it doesn't need to stop you from achieving anything you want to or doing anything you want to. It's just a habit of thought and feeling. It has no relation to how good you are at what you do, and no relation to how good a person you are. If, like I was, you've been coming to retail therapy, don't beat yourself up about it. That's just more unhelpful thinking. We're all doing the best we can. And as we learn more, we learn how to do better. I can't tell you what to buy or not to buy. I can't tell you how much is enough for you of any particular item. We each have to make our own decisions. But I do believe that if we make those decisions with greater understanding of our thoughts and greater acceptance of our feelings, then we will make better decisions that lead to better outcomes, both for our own well-being and for the future of our beautiful world. Thank you.